welcome back to Blue Heart Craft Catchup. Blue Heart Crochet Craft Catchup. So normally on these little episodes I go over what I've been working on over the past 2 weeks, but life has got a bit crazy in January. I'm going to go into that at the end, because it will get me emotional talking about it, and I'm not going to do that and then try and start going through all my knitting and crochet, and also some of you may not be interested, that's entirely okay. But yeah, so since that, and also because I did Vlogmas and I didn't do one while I was doing Vlogmas, it just means that I've not been on in a while and shown you what I have been working on. So I am going to go through that. I actually have 2 finished objects, well 3, but 2 were given as Christmas gifts. But yeah, so let's get on to what I have got finished since the end of November. So the first thing that I did get finished was the mermaid tails that I was making for my nieces. So I'm going to go to Abbey of the Past. I did a clip before I gifted them, show them all. So I'm going to go back to Abbey of the Past during the run up to Christmas, and she'll tell you all about them. Hi everyone, so this is Abby from the past here. This is Abby from the 19th of December. I thought I'd come and show you the mermaid tails that I made for my nieces for Christmas, just as I'm going to be wrapping them up soon. And yeah, wanted to show you them all because last time I came on I actually only had one completely finished, one I was working on. So here we go with the finished mermaid tail. So my nieces are 6 and 4, just not long 10, 6 and 4, both of them. And I actually used a 5mm hook on this. The pattern is a free pattern tutorial and it is by Yarn Utopia. It'll be linked down below in the description box. The dog's trying to jump up behind you, so just holding the camera so he doesn't knock it. Yeah, so the pattern is free. It's by Yarn Utopia. Now you can buy a PDF version of the pattern, but what I found that I didn't really need to be able to have it as a PDF. I found that I was fine with it as the website. The ads didn't bother me, and there's also a video tutorial attached along with it. Now I did switch up the pattern a little bit, so it comes in 3 sizes, and the pattern's designed with worsted weight yarn, or Aran weight yarn. I'm not 100% sure on the hook size, but I was using DK yarn for this. I actually used Stylecraft Special DK, so I used the pink is fondant, the blue is aster, and the yellow is citron. Now when I was doing it, the designer does give you the multiples of how many you need so that you can change the size if needed. So I found that I needed to do 1 repeat shorter than what was the smallest size, just because I'm making them for young kids. So that's what I did, and I just did it until I felt it was long enough, which included measuring pants in Primark, because I was not going to be seeing my nieces around the time when I was getting close to finishing the first one. So yeah, when I was in Primark, got my tape measure from the kids' pants there, so I knew sort of what size needs to, adding a bit on for, feet and that, and going above the hips. But yeah, so I made them both the same size, and I just did the repeat of each colour. This one, the fin is in aster. The other one, sorry for any crinkling, the tail is in citron. And I want to use Stylecraft Special DK because it is just, it's a bog standard acrylic. It's easy to wash, which is great because it's for kids, and it just kept down on the cost because it's not the most expensive type of yarn either. So yeah, the main thing was the size that I did the modifications for, but I did do another modification, and this came to the sides. So actually I did 2 modifications. So first one is the sides. the pattern has you going back and forth and then seaming it up at the end. Now I did back and forth for a while so they'd have an area where they can get their legs in and out quite easily, but the rest of it I did go round and round. I just found that was a lot easier, and I felt it was going to be more stable, as I didn't 100% trust how well my sewing together would be and how neat it would look. So that's what I did with that. And then the final change came towards the end here when you're decreasing and rounding it off. Now in the pattern it does tell you how to decrease down to, you know, so many stitches. I read the pattern and it wasn't fully making sense to me, so I did decide to watch the tutorial. And one thing I really liked about this pattern was I thought when I read it initially before I was starting it, I did think the decreases looked a bit complicated, but I thought, oh, there's a video tutorial, it should be no problem. But the video tutorial was not actually that clear. What it is the designer uses 3 colours, so like a dark blue, like an acry blue, and then there's one that is variegated and it's all different shades of blue, primarily a similar shade to the dark blue and a similar shade of the lighter aqua blue. So when the designer was showing you on the tutorial how to do this decrease, I kept personally getting confused myself, as the variegated yarn easily blended in with the previous yarn, the other 2 yarns. So I did just find it a bit complicated there, and I thought rather than just, faff around and keep getting frustrated, I decided to do my own thing. And what I did was I just, in the shells, so let's show this here, so in the middle bit of the shell and in between the 2 shells, what I would do is I would do a half double crochet US turns 2 together, and I did that all the way around, and then I basically just went in with the needle in between the stitches, wove around and pulled it tight. That's what I did, so much simpler. I wasn't too bothered about the gradual decreases. I thought the girls were not going to be that fussed over gradual decreases. Yeah, and that just seemed a lot easier to me. That is my only gripe, is, if you're going to do a tutorial, do, separate colours. Even if you're just going to do different shades of blue, that'd have been fine. It was just that variegated was so similar to the other 2 shades that I kept getting confused. So that is my mermaid tail. I can't wait to see the girls open them and see how much they enjoy them. So hopefully I have remembered everything there, but any details that I forgot, do just, that you may have been like, oh, I wondered what this was, just put a comment down in the description box. That's fine. I'm happy to answer any questions. But yeah, so that's my first finished object. That was finished before December actually, so that's actually been finished for a really long time. But other than that, I've only got one finished object. Since when you last saw me on John Vlogmas, I was working on my Advent project, so the projects I was using my Advent yarn on, and since finishing that, I've gone through all my whips and stuff like that, my sleeping whips, hibernating, the ones I was working on just before Advent, and I've gone through and I've sort of sorted them into, like, piles, frogging, what I'm going to work on and stuff like that, and I'm going to try and condense it. So I'm going to try and keep my projects down to 4 at a time, with one being spare for when I'm doing stuff like, if I'm part of a knit along or crochet along where you're doing so many rows, X amount every few weeks, then I can add that in and it's not getting too overwhelming. That's the idea. So I'm going to hopefully have on my hooks or needles at a time some smaller projects and then also some bigger projects, so I'm not getting bored. And that's the idea behind it, is I'm trying to stick to 4 so I'm not getting overwhelmed and I can get good progress on each one by the time I see you. So progress on this one, because I've not actually seen this one in a couple of years actually, because I started this in 2022, and there was just one bit of it on the amigurumi that I didn't actually get finished, and it's just been lingering in the bag, and I was like, you know what, I'm getting it done. So that's been the first thing that I've finished of the year, and it is a little yellow submarine. So yeah, that's what it's like. The other side, not so fancy, because I've not put any portholes on there, but I'll stick it on a shelf. So yeah, that's why I've not done that. But yeah, it's absolutely adorable. So I did use a 3mm hook with this. I used Starcraft Special Decay for most of it. The yellow was Sunshine, pointing on this side like you can see. Yellow was Sunshine, the red was Matador, the white, and the blue was a Home and Bargain yarn that I had a ball of. And I can't remember the colour of that, but it was just a DK yarn. That's what it's like. These are not sewed on the best, you know, they're sewn on with the blue bits. Just it was easier to hide the tails and stuff like that. So they aren't perfect, but it's not going to be getting played with. It's going to be sitting on the shelf, so that's not anything. That's why I thought, you know, it doesn't have to be too secure. I'm going to maybe look at doing a starch spray for the little propeller on the back, because it does keep trying to curl over. So I might put a bit of starch spray on that. It was a paid for pattern by Up the Hook Designs. The person doesn't actually have many patterns on their Etsy, but they do have a couple. I think it's mostly vintage stuff that they're selling on there. But anyway, we'll link it down below in the description box. It wasn't too expensive. It's pretty easy to understand. I liked, you know, the shaping with this and that. The criticism, probably one criticism I'd have, is the porthole. There's no shaping on it to actually get it to bend like that. When you attach the porthole onto the thing, it sort of sticks up like straight. So I did have to do some tacking to try and get it to stay down so it's actually looking at the side, and I've still not got it how I've wanted. But no matter how hard I tried, it, you know, I couldn't get it that great. So that's my sewing skills, not great. So that's the only criticism that I've had of it, but it is a great pattern, looks really cute. It's not, you know, too advanced, because when I've looked at a lot of the Yellow Submarine patterns, they just look so daunting to me, and that's what I liked about this, was it was a lot more calmer, chilled. And so yeah, that is my first thing that I've had off the hook. And obviously Yellow Submarine is inspired by the Beatles song Yellow Submarine. It's one of my niece's favourite songs, and there's a lot of memories associated with the song. With me being from Liverpool, there's a lot of things going on with my childhood with, you know, that song's a prominent feature of it, and then now with my nieces, so it's really the sentimental value. That's why I wanted to make a little Yellow Submarine, and I've got it. So I'm going to be entering it into Belinda of Belinda's Baubles, and Mandy of Mouse's makes Topping Off Mal, where you basically let's get some of these projects finished. As long as you started it before 2024, it counts. And you know, that was started in 2022, so yes, glad I'm getting it done. But that is the only FO I've got. So I've got quite a few I've got a long list of projects that I am taking into 2024, and the next one I think I'm going to be working on to try and get finished is going to be the Halloween amigurumis, as they're a gift. I want to get them done by Halloween this year. They will be done by Halloween this year, but you know, I really want to get working on them. So that'll probably be next project. But then that's it. So we're on to whips now, and first thing, let's show you is the advent projects that I've been working on. I have really been working hard on these projects and getting them done. So the first one is, let's see, it's a triangulum, and it is by Craft House Magic, Ellie of Craft House Magic, and it is a paid-for pattern because I'm up against the wall here. So, oh, there we are, sort of. There we are, that's what I'm doing. So I am doing a row of 6 hexagons across, and then I'm going into the row below. So I'd done the row of 6 in Advent. That was what you last saw. So I did this one here, then the orange with the blue and the grey, the really light blue, and then like the dark blue, really like that one. And then this I didn't really think I was going to like as much as I did, but I absolutely love this one. The blue with the browns, and yeah, that just, sorry, my nail was catching on there. That reminds me really of like a beach, if you know what I mean, like the sand and, you know, the water. That's what it reminds me of. And I know some people say white sandy beaches, but around where I live, you know, you don't get blue sandy beaches. Formby's not like white sand, New Brighton's not white sand, but you know, they're beaches that I love to go to. So that is the triangular blanket. I'm using 2.5mm needles on this, and I'm just using the Advent yarn. So I'm doing 2 colours in each hexagon, and I'm trying to make it so you can see that they're hexagons. So I'm trying not to put 2 colours close to each other, you know, so there obviously you can see the 2 different they're 2 hexagons, even though there's like 2 similar colours. And I'm also trying to make it so that you can see the hexagons are actually made out of the triangles. That one didn't do great with the picking of the colours. It looks pretty, but yeah. So that is where we're at, and I'm loving just putting the colours together and seeing how they do turn out. As a result, with me wanting to have them look a certain way, I am not putting them in order. I've, you know, laid out the Advent calendar and any minis that I've got at home, and I've laid them all out and gone through and paired them all up to where I want them to go. So they so I've got them ready to go there, and I just add them in at a time. But yeah, they're not in order. That's what the long story short was. My next Advent project, my crochet Advent project, that is done in order. And I will say that the triangulum is a painful pattern, but really well worth it. You know, it's really detailed, and it's written great. I've not had a single issue with it. But yeah, anyway, as I said, the one that is in order, sort of, and I'll explain the sort of in a minute, is that still connected? No. Is the crochet one that I'm doing. And this is what it looks like here. So where I say is, oh, I've got it the wrong way around, haven't I? Yeah. There we go. And what I mean by it's not 100% in order, so before Advent, I used some of my Advent minis from last year that I had not used to test out to see how much yarn I'd use on the triangulum and then also on the squares, so I'd know I'd have enough. So as you can see, the first hexagon and the first 2 squares match up with the yarns. So yeah, but other than that, it then goes in order. But because I had the 2 Advent calendars, I just sort of pick whatever colour I think's going to go best first or second. So pink, yellow. So I'm trying to see where's trying to think of one where, right, down here. So the lilac and the grey, they were both on one day. The lilac was the mouse switch yarns, and the grey was the My Yarny Corner. Then the next My Yarny Corner one was this blue one, and that was the mouse switch. So I put the mouse switch one first so that there wasn't 2 greys that close together, just break it up a tad. But yeah, that is what we are like with that. I had done the 3 rows, so I have done a 4th row, and then I'm now onto my 5th row. It is going to be 10 blocks by 10 blocks when I've done the Advent calendar, but I'm then going to go and do another border just to make it like go round with, like, you know, remaining minis and stuff like that, just to make it a bit bigger. But yeah, the main Advent calendar will be in the middle, and I'm using the as I said, at the moment I've just used the advent calendars, but it is Starcraft Special Baby 4-ply in white. That's what's in the middle, and it's designed to look, I've been inspired by the Battenberg blanket, but I'm doing it in corner to corner and just join it as you go, and just making the squares a bit bigger to use the yarn. The reason why I got a bit confused with it being connected and why I've got a really long yarn tail is that's the end of the first ball of white that I've got used. So yeah, not bad with it, but really enjoying it. It's really relaxing. I'm using a 2.5mm hook, and the blocks are, what am I doing, 8x8. So that's what it is. It's just basic, corner to corner. And what I normally do is I normally do 4 blocks at a time. So 2 of the white and 2 advents, which equals into a day of the advents. And then with this, I normally do a hexagon at a time, then put it down. And I'm switching between the two, so they're both at the same point. I believe there's 11 hexagons and 10 days of the advent calendar, plus the 2 at the start. So that's where I'm up to with that. And yes, they are still in the Christmas bag because they are my advent projects. Let's hope I'm not still working on them in December. I'm not going to be, but you know, I'm not dead quick with knitting and crochet. But yeah, I'll leave the pattern to what I've discussed down in the description box below. But yeah, obviously the corner to corner, there's no particular pattern to that. It's just working on it as, and just sort of, you know, doing your own thing with it. But yeah, and my final whip is the, these are the basic toe up socks with integrated heel by Albina McLaughlin. Now I bought these socks because I really wanted to try the heel. I'm always looking at trying new things with knitting socks, and I heard Caroline of the Aria Bark podcast talk about these this designer all the time, and she raves about the integrated heel by Albina McLaughlin. So I was like, you know what, I'll give it a go, see if I enjoy it. And one moment, turn the sock around. I have done the heel. So I've done my first integrated heel. It's a paid-for pattern, but the toe up one I got came with the toe up and the cuff down version, so you know, bargain that, can't complain with that. But yeah, now I really see why Caroline raves about this heel so much. I really enjoyed doing it. I found it quite easy to follow. It's something that I can do on the go. It's not something that I'll have to, like, you know, stop and think of. It does mean I'm gonna have to carry, like, you know, little notions, but I'd have to do that if I was doing something like shadow wrap heel anyway. It's not that I'd have to carry around different, but I'm really enjoying doing it. The only thing I would say is I don't think I'd be able to use like a contrast colour. So if I was doing a contrast colour, I would probably use like shadow wrap heel. I'll have to see how it feels when I'm wearing it, whether it fits my foot okay, but I will say really loving it first time around. So yeah, these are in the King Cole zigzag, and I'm using a 2.5mm needle. That's what I always use for my socks. The colourway in this is Circus, and I've got it in 2 balls there. As you can see, that's what it looks like when it's wound up. I do just divide it out because I go through phases of liking doing socks 1 at a time and 2 at a time. At the moment I'm in the 2 at a time phase. I think because my last pair of socks, I've got one of them done and the other one's just sat there, not even cast on yet. So I think that was one of the reasons. And I don't have to count stitches when I'm doing this, like, you know, rows and stuff like that. I know they're going to match perfectly, but yeah, this is getting entered into Amanda's Your Socksy and You Know It Cal, where basically you pick a random yarn, random pattern or something like that. Basically just make socks at least once every 2 months throughout the year, and that's part of the cal, and I'm using it to get rid of some of the stock yarns that I've got in stash, and also to use some patterns in my Ravelry library that I've got and I've been wanting to use for a while now. So yeah, that's them. Really loving them, and yeah, I'm just gonna knit round and round while I go on to life updates, because as I said, I'm just limiting what I'm doing with the pattern, with how many projects I have on the go. And I will say these have had the most love out of all my projects at the moment, and that is because of everything that's been going on with life. If you are not interested, then you know, feel free to click off. Hope you're all having a wonderful day, and I'll speak to you soon. But if you are, it's just, yeah, why I went suddenly MIA in January. I did get one video out. I recorded it before. I recorded it either on the 31st or the 30th of December. And yeah, just start of January just went patong. And I'm trying to right, so basically my mum and dad went down to a relative's party in London. The party was on the 30th of December. 31st, my mum woke up and she really wasn't well. It was very dangerous, like how ill she was, and the concern was, let's just try and get her back up to Liverpool before she has to go into hospital, because we knew how ill she was. She needed to go into hospital ASAP. But we didn't want her to go into one in London, just because that is 4.5 hours away from us. My younger sister would not have been able to go and see my mum. I don't know how feasible it would have been for me to be able to get there, because I'd have had to have gone by train, so it just depended on that. But yeah, and then it'd have been like, you know, the party was at one end of London, and we don't have, you know, we have a family member who lives there, but they wouldn't have had the space to put up my dad for an indefinite amount of time. My dad would not have come home, and stuff like that. So it was just, we wanted to try and get her back up to the north, as close to the northwest of England as possible. So drove home. Thankfully, you know, she was stable and she was okay throughout the whole journey. And she got back to the house, like the house she lived in, and went straight up to the hospital. They took one look at her and went, right, that's it, you're coming in. And we wondered, was it because my mum went into hospital with like an infection just before Christmas, and at first we thought, oh, it's probably just that, you know, the infection's not cleared, they'll, you know, just start antibiotics and she'll be okay. But it wasn't that. They were like, no, there's no infection in the markers and stuff like that. And they started throwing around words like heart failure and heart attack, and I'm not going to lie, I've never been so scared about one of my parents' health ever. And it was just, it was basically hell on earth, you know. You know, it was constantly like every day you're up at the hospital there, you know, with her and stuff like that, and you know, you just feel so powerless to be able to do stuff, and you trying just to process it all. And to add to that, obviously, like, I've got anxiety, so, you know, things just, you know, whirl around my head, and it goes from like something that's like small to major. But the thing that was whirling around my head was that the middle of January is the anniversary of my auntie's. My auntie passed away, and you know, my mum's younger sister, and you know, that swirls around your head. You know, my auntie was happy, healthy one day, and within, you know, a couple of weeks she passed away. My mum's at the hospital when my auntie passed away. You know, it's all those reminders going through your head, and it was just, it's just absolutely hard to, you can't describe what, you know, what you're feeling, you know, when it's someone you love and you're just so worried and scared. So that's what's been going on. That's why, you know, I've been, you know, not feeling like I've been able to do any videos and stuff like that. That's why I've just felt like, you know, I've got to, you know, sort of take deep breaths. I'm so thankful that I was off for the first 2 weeks of January, because I couldn't have gone in. I have now been into work since. My mum is still in hospital. She's, as we're aware, she's very stable now. She's doing okay. She's sat up, she's talking to us. She's had to go into hospital for some like assessments and some treatment that can't be done in the community, and so that's where she is at the moment. But you know, she's not in the critical stage as where she was earlier in the month. But yeah, it has been just, you know, all systems go, and that's genuinely why these have had so much work done on them, because, you know, this little bag here is just easy to pick up and put in my handbag and go, you know, take up to the hospital, because, you know, it does sound terrible, but when I'm sat up there, like, don't get me wrong, we've been, you know, every time we've been up there, you know, we're chatting to mum, and she's, you know, most times she's in good spirits, but I get very, when I'm anxious, I stim quite a lot. You know, little things like my handshakes like that, or I'm, you know, kicking my foot quite a bit. And I didn't want to be stimming quite a lot in front of my mum, because I knew then she'd realise how anxious and how scared I was. It was all sort of trying, you know, show mum we're okay, we're not like very scared. But yeah, so I, you know, took these so that I was doing something with my hands, so that, you know, she wouldn't have thought anything odd. She didn't think anything was odd. She was just, you know, she was constantly having a little look at them and stuff like that. And you know, so yeah, that's why these have had so much work on them. But yeah, that's what's been going on. But thankfully now everything does look like it's calmed down. But you know, you never take anything for granted, particularly at the moment. You know, it's, everything can change just like that, so I'm generally not taking anything for granted at the moment. But yeah, that's where we're at with things. So hopefully videos will be a bit more regular, but if I do drop off again, please know it's probably something like that that's going on at the moment, just because it is taking up every moment that we've got, really. But yeah, so that's how the new year started. I hope yours started so much better than what ours did, and I hope you're all doing well. Please let me know what you've been working on. Inspire me, because, like, you know, I'm trying to get things finished here, so hopefully that means I can start a lot more stuff. And yeah, let me know what you've been up to, because I love hearing what you've all been getting up to in the comments down below. Stay safe, take care, and I will speak to you all very, very soon. Bye.